Yo, 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 what's up, all you burner stones and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are ya?
Refreshed.
And reset. Hey, all you vipers out there in the world. Hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal with some lemon pepper grown by our friend Big Earl. And lemon pepper strain is a sativa dominant 70-30 created through crossing the delicious lemon cooler and lemon pebble strains. Named for its iconic flavor of smell, lemon pepper is a great choice for any lover of clear-headed sativas and long-lasting daytime-worthy height. It starts with almost as soon as you exhale, filling your brain with lifted sense of pure euphoria and sense of ease, any negative moods and racing thoughts. Replacing them with pure happiness, you'll feel mentally and physically energized, the state ready to get up and moving on anything and everything on your to-do list. Your mind will remain clear from start to finish, with this bud keeping you stimulated and focused for hours on end. Combined with the high between 19 and 25% average THC level, these effects make lemon pepper a great depression, fatigue, chronic stress, nausea, appetite loss, and chronic pain. This bud has a sharp, spicy, black peppery flavor with hints of fresh and fruity, sugary lemon citrus upon exhale. The aroma is very similar with a spicy black pepper overtone and hints of fresh, fruity citrus that's intensified as the nugs are burned away. Lemon pepper buds have tight and small, spade-shaped, bright neon green nugs with lots of orange hairs and coating of frosty golden white crystal trichomes. The effects: aroused, euphoria, happy, uplifting, relief symptoms of chronic pain, depression, fatigue, nausea, stress. Flavors are citrus, fruity, lemon, sour, spicy, sugar, sweet. Aromas are citrus, earthy, herbal, lemon, sour, and sweet. And this is lemon pepper grown by our friend Big Earl. Thanks, Big Earl, for throwing to the cause. Mr. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
We back.
We are back. We are back from our vacation.
We've been gone for about 2 weeks, everybody. We left on 421. Drove down to see Ma 420 and Bigfoot, my brother, Blunt Master. Spent a week with them. And then we went to a nice little town called St. Augustine, Florida. And we had a wonderful time on the beach for 7 straight days. The little city downtown area of St. Augustine is so cool. We got to do a little interview with some people signing up folks to register to get in 2026 the Florida Cannabis Act to make sure they're on for recreational. So we got to meet Cullen and Colby, like the cheese, Colby cheese. Oh, it went out. Might not lighten that back up. And we got to see a lot of cool sights and a lot of history. We went to the Fountain of Youth and we bathed in the fountain. No, I'm just kidding. There is no fountain, everybody. It's just a pipe that comes out of the rocks.
Don't tell anybody. For 53 years, I thought there was a fountain.
Tell you what, though.
I felt like Ponce de Leon because I discovered that there isn't a fountain.
It is
exploration.
It's very fun. It's very cool place, though. I really liked the whole Fountain of Youth, the whole thing.
Wait,
though. Like,
there is a fountain.
Yes,
just not like visually a fountain.
You were thinking,
a little hose coming out of a treasure chest.
You were thinking it was Buckingham Fountain.
I thought it was going to be like a fountain in the middle. Like all of my life, I just pictured a fountain in the middle of the town, and you would just happen upon it and throw coins in it and rub the water on your arm or something
and you
like
would
that.
Turn 20 years younger.
I didn't know that it was quite the operation that it is.
Yes.
Yes.
It was very fun, though.
Peacocks, I will tell you, go there if you are interested in peacocks because there are wild peacocks all over the property. Yeah. And they do some pretty wild activities.
Yeah, they do. They were chasing each other around.
Guys with their big wings, tail feathers, and they've got these butt feathers that go up and they rattle like a rattlesnake.
Trying to get
and then
the
they
women.
Chase the lady around. I'll put it on my story. It's pretty entertaining. I captured some crazy shit.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. The whole tour and everything that you can do there and look at all like how they lived.
Oh no. Went out again.
And how things were back then. It was very unique and very fun. And It was a good town. The weed scene down there was 3 dispensaries in the area, right?
I think more.
Well, in the St. Augustine kind of area, there was 3, and then there was some along US 1 and A1A further south and further north. But the 3 in the area, there was 3 medical dispensaries, and it was cool. We didn't get to go in them, but we met somebody that works at one, and he was super cool, retiree, and worked as a dispensary. Was talking about all the cool things he gets to see and do at the dispensary, and a lot of free weed that he gets and samples. And
but we got him really baked on Chicago weed.
Oh yeah, we did on some homegrown GG4.
And, yeah, he couldn't see so good. They were him and his wife were closing their shop down. She has an art gallery in town, and we happened upon the art gallery. Long story short, we were chatting with her. Her husband came in at the end of his day to help her close up, and we all ended up smoking a joint together and having some laughs. And he got pretty baked on our Chicago weed.
Yeah, he did on some GG4.
Hope you enjoyed it, Ken. And Mayor.
And Mayor. It was very nice to meet
great.
them. Yeah, we met a lot of cool people down there.
It was a very friendly town.
Good food.
Yeah.
True, we had some good
food scene.
Yeah, the beach is amazing.
Oh,
yeah, if you haven't gotten to St. Augustine, go to the beach and enjoy yourself. Just don't leave it. Stay there for as long as you can, because it was fantastic. It was just a great 7 days of rest and refresh and relaxation and smoking a lot. We smoked a lot of fucking weed. We smoked a lot. Coffee with weed, beach day with weed, lunch with weed, dinner with weed,
walk with weed, talk with weed, sleep with weed.
We went to a cool bar while we were there called Stogie's.
Stogie's was good.
And we met a guy called
Shark Tooth? Or...
No. Shark Tooth.
I was trying to find a shark tooth all week long.
You were. I found one.
Yeah, a plotted one that was in a kid's digging part exhibit at the Fountain of Youth.
Skin Tight was his name.
Skin Tight, yes.
And they had a phenomenal band of just 4 people that just play. They've only played 3 times together. And got to talk with him a little bit, gave him a joint, take home. He goes, I'm going to savor this, and I'm going to make sure this lasts. I'm going to smoke 3 hits.
He's not a daily smoker, he said, so he would save it for...
Yeah, he's going to smoke a couple hits, save it, smoke it. So Skin Tight, hopefully you enjoyed some Chicago weed. You played with Bo Diddley, and your son lives up here, I think you were telling us.
Yeah, he goes to college
he goes to college here, so it was very, very nice to meet you. Who else did we get to talk to? We met some people that own some shops, local shop owners there, Melissa, and what was the other woman's name? Colleen?
I was going to say Colleen.
Yeah, Colleen.
Kimberly?
I think it was Colleen.
Okay.
And got to meet them at cool, different, unique shops. There's a very, very, a lot of eclectic, cool shops there. Like, it's not your standard touristy, shops that you hate to see.
It wasn't a bunch of souvenir shops selling the same thing.
It was a bunch
There
of...
were some quality stores. There were
a bunch of
art,
private owners.
Jewelry.
Yeah.
There were exhibits, and then the history of the town. The downtown is built around the historical buildings.
Yep.
So it's kind of museumish. You as you're walking through the town, you're at store, and then there's the first schoolhouse.
Oldest city in the United States, right?
Yeah, so it was the original first schoolhouse and the old cemetery, and from the 1800s.
We saw the fort,
yeah,
too.
But people predated the 1800s there.
Oh, it was 1500s when it was discovered.
There's an old military hospital, and it's a museum. It was closed when we went by there, so we never went in. But it's pretty cool. The Henry Flagler, who owned the railways, a lot of railway, was a huge developer when we lived in the Palm Beach Gardens area.
Yep.
He was a big name there. The Flagler Bridge and a lot of what Palm Beach has his name on it.
There's and St. Augustine was Flagler College.
And Flagler College was built. Oh my God, the architecture.
Mrs Weedman loves architecture.
Dripping with ornamentation. It was insane. It was beautiful.
It was great. It's good. St. Augustine, you'll always have a special place in my heart. It was a lot of fun. It was. We'll be back.
Yeah.
Definitely another city.
Yuki loved it.
Oh yeah, Yuki had a great time. She wanted to be on the beach all day, every day.
She's an ocean dog.
Yeah, she's a
and
water
she'll
dog.
watch her videos and then she cries. I have videos of her and she's like, ooh, oh, oh. Why aren't we there still?
Yeah, she does
Smart
enjoy.
dog.
She does enjoy the water and the beach. She does like it.
On a really cool note, we have a new pope. I just wanted to chime in on this. Very cool. I know that you may not be hearing this podcast for a couple days, but today was the day that the Vatican announced our new pope.
New pope.
And he is a Chicago dude.
Yeah,
so
home team.
The memes going around Chicago today already, like instantaneously. Like, oh, I heard he worked at Wiener Circle. Oh, he's a Cubs fan. He'd never be a Sox fan. The Eucharist that he'll serve will be a piece of tavern-style pizza. He's going to give Malort instead of wine at the Eucharist.
That's funny.
I mean, it just went on and
The
on.
memes are great. I don't have
my
social
God.
media, so I didn't see all the
butt
memes.
cut. There's a lot of dip butt. They put a mustache on him, and he's got dub bears or dub pope.
Gosh, that's funny. That's good stuff.
I mean, it just goes on
Home
and on.
team right there.
I took a 3-minute video of one person's post and all of the comments on it because I wanted to send it to the kids. And I looked at them, I'm like, oh my God, this is 3 minutes long of posts, like of people chiming in with these Chicago thing. Oh my God, it was very funny. So, but very cool. History in the making.
History is made.
There's never been an American Pope.
Yep.
So
and
pretty cool.
And there's never been a pope from Chicago.
Yeah.
Home team. What up?
Chicago is going to be in the light.
Hey,
In the
Pope.
light. Hallelujah. Yeah.
Congratulations,
I'm pretty
Chicago.
fucking high right now.
Yeah, the lemon pepper's great. Thanks,
The
Big Earl.
lemon
We
pepper.
appreciate you getting us high. Don't forget about 8decades.com, everybody.
Yeah.
Check out 8decades.com, Mrs.
It's my
Weedman's baby.
baby.
Check out, we have all your cannabis accessories and all your cannabis needs, and also clothing, 8 Decades clothing, Weedman 420 clothing. We have the most fantastic, amazing smoke set. Check it out. It is 16 gauge stainless steel. It's got the curved edges so you can scoop your weed into, may roll your joints with, everything. It's got a grinder. We have ashtrays, as you can see here. The tray set's over there. We have the tool set that you can scoop your weed, clean your bowls. If you want to do a little dabble, do ya? Check out 8decades.com. Everybody, free shipping with what, Mrs. Weedman? If you spend over what?
Over, I think it's set up at $100.
$100.
Maybe 50.
Maybe 50.
I should probably know. I'll check.
Check out 8decades.com, everybody, for all your cannabis accessory needs. And we want to thank you. Some new orders came in. We want to thank everybody for the support. We appreciate out there in the world who's thrown to the cause. We really appreciate it because what you support in 8 Decades keeps this show going every week. We appreciate it. And thank you all. And what else going on? That's about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. There is a funny article, though.
There is a funny article.
Funny article. Let me ask you a question.
Free
Mr.
shipping over 100.
Over 100.
Yep.
Sweet. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
What would you do if you were on a flight, an airplane,
Mm-hmm.
and someone took off their clothes,
I'd be surprised.
stripped naked?
Where is
right?
this going? Where is this going?
Right?
Uh-huh.
But okay, first and foremost, they strip naked.
Yeah.
What would you do?
I'd be like, guy's having a bad day. Just doesn't want to stay over there and
I
don't
would
create
be
a
like,
problem.
I
don't know. Get him a
what-
blanket.
I want what that person's on. To have the balls or cojones or whatever to take your clothes off on an airplane.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because you know shit's going to go down.
just crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what would you do if that person stripped naked, ran up and down the aisle, and got back to their seat and took a poop?
Oh, well, I'd be pretty grossed out. Yeah. I think a lot of us would be pretty speechless.
What would
Like,
you say?
what am I seeing
That would
right
be the
now?
first thing out of your mouth. What am I looking
what the
at?
fuck? Or holy shit.
Well,
Did you see that?
there was somebody on a Southwest airline
Come on.
flight that did this.
You. That's really, really gross.
Now,
Was it
this is-
already like in the air?
Yeah.
Oh,
They had to land. Now, this is not the first person that's done
gross.
this.
yeah.
That stripped naked. A couple months ago, another person stripped naked. They said
a
that
thing.
person was on mushrooms, they believe, or some kind of psychedelics.
Maybe not
And
mushrooms.
stripped and ran up and down. They said some kind of psychedelic. So
He was just having a moment.
having a moment. And so this is twice that this has happened. Someone,
The poop part is a little bit
is a
much.
little crazy. Stripping naked,
Because
I
you're not going to want
understand.
to talk. Who's got to handcuff him? You know how close his hands will be to that.
But
poop?
the crazy thing about it wasn't a him.
It was a girl.
It was a her.
Oh, girl, what the fuck? Why'd you do that?
I don't understand.
But still, the butt and hands are very close when you're handcuffing somebody. So whoever has to handcuff that person has got to like
Gonna
get
have
really
shit in their
close to
hand.
shit. Well, I guess you hold their arms way, way up. Buckle up, bitch. And put them in a corner and put some stuffed towels over them, so like over their laps. So
I mean,
you don't have to smell it.
I mean, I'm sure they'll still handcuff them. They're gonna have to land at the nearest airport, right?
Who's cleaning the poop off the seat?
The crazy thing about it, this incident is the second involving a Southwest airline plane to take place at Midway Airport.
Oh, it's a Chicago thing. We've gone mad. We've gone mad.
Madness.
Complete madness.
So this
Go
is
figure.
twice. Like I said, last month it happened with a woman taking
Both times a woman too.
It was a woman. Both times.
What's in the water at Midway?
I want some.
Well, not the poop part though.
Not the poop part, and not taking my clothes off either. I just want what they're having. Unless they raided those green boxes and they just ate a ton of edibles and just went to town and just got crazy
on whatever.
Yeah, they just raided, stuck their hand in there, grabbed whatever they could, and ate it. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, but if it was weed, they wouldn't be high that
Yeah, but
fast.
if you ate like 100 milligrams, it might make you a little fucking loopy.
Make you a little loopy.
Yeah, you might just say, I'm going to fuck it. It's 100 milligrams. I'm going on this plane. I'm eating the whole thing. I'm going to be high, and in the air high.
Wow. Girls, get your shit together. The first one didn't poop.
No. Just took the clothes off and ran up and down the aisle, stripped,
the next one
and was dancing like everywhere, like having a gay old time. And this one just took off the clothes, stripped naked, took off the clothes, and just pooped. Just pooped. I'm just pooping. I'm just pooping.
Don't mind me, just pooping.
Southwest Airlines, I'm here pooping.
Naked pooping.
You're naked pooping.
On the plane.
On the plane.
Cool.
I just with all the shit that's been going on up in the air lately, it just makes me up in the air.
Yeah.
Just makes me not want to fly.
Oh, I think it's always been happening.
Yeah, but
they just have nothing really better to talk about right now. So we get those kind of stories.
I know, but this has been like lately, a lot lately.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed
the news
goes in patterns?
I usually fly
until
Southwest.
A pattern goes dry. Like if they don't have another naked pooping girl on a plane story in the next like couple weeks, we're not going back to that. We're done.
I know.
We're moving on.
I get it.
Moving on.
But I fly Southwest Airlines, and we
check that seat before you sit down.
Out of Midway quite often.
Make sure there's not a big circular stain.
I don't know if I'll be flying Southwest for a while.
Hopefully they change the seat.
Besides, I just don't know if I'll fly out of Southwest for a while.
Why?
It's kind of crazy. People just shit on planes. It's kind of just fucked up.
Yeah.
You don't even. I mean. Never even shit on a plane before because shitting in that little airport toilet,
on the seat,
the toilet though
that you've paid for,
it's like low, right? Yeah. It's not a deep toilet, so if you, no one, I don't think anybody, unless you like have like a bad,
right?
Unless you like have it like bad, like where you really can't hold it. No, I don't know anybody that I know of that.
There's nobody that's like, I love taking a shit on a plane. I love knowing that someone's outside the door and they're waiting for me. And when they come in after me, it's gonna stink.
Well, actually, when you open
There's
that
a little
door,
poof of smell that comes out when the door opens. I love it. I love sitting in there and holding up the room for 5 minutes. There might be people like that. I bet there's people like that.
There's some people I know.
But I don't know anybody.
I bet you there's some people that like shitting on a plane.
That's what I'm saying.
There's most definitely some.
You high?
No, I know. That's what you're saying. I'm just saying. I'm agreeing with you and repeating it.
Yes.
There is some people that probably enjoy it.
Right.
But I just don't know how you do it because if you have like a long snake poop,
it's stuck to your butt.
It's stuck between your butt and on that little hard, that hard
that
thing.
Little flapper.
Yeah, little flapper.
It's always like
it's not going
when you
down.
Push the button, you're like,
at least when you're shitting your own home, there's a hole. But there's a hole that if you shoot a big snake poop, it goes in the hole. Right. This you're like stuck. You're gonna be like you can't move, but like glue. You're stuck.
That's kind of magical though when you have one of those poops.
Gotta have good fiber.
You know what you see in the toilet is a lot less than what came out, and then you're like so curious. How long is that?
It's a long one. Snake.
Sometimes
you call them snake poops.
Sometimes they're
pythons. Just create, or it's Mr. Hanky the Christmas poop.
That's Mr. Hanky.
Hello, everybody. That show's been on for a long time, almost 20 years. That show's been around since '96.
God. Still making new episodes.
Mm-hmm. Quick too, funny still as hell. I don't watch it as much as I used to, but I usually watch I'll watch like a bunch of them at once and be like, holy shit, I want to.
You get like a dose.
Yeah, you get a dose, and then you don't need to watch it for a while. I don't. I just don't watch regular TV. So it's like, oh, if it's on, like a run of it, 10 episodes, I'll do it. Let's go.
Mr. Hanky.
Mr. Hanky. Oh my gosh. You ready to get the show started?
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to do it, but we'll see. I'm
We
pretty
can do
big.
it.
Big Earl.
Yeah.
Woo, brother.
Pretty baked in a good way.
That lemon pepper, I think we got one
Can't
little
see
nugget.
very well, but I feel pretty clear. Yeah.
Pretty good. All right, let's try this out, everybody. We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
Here
It's
we
been
are.
a minute. 2 weeks rest. Here we go.
Yep.
CBD helps relieve chronic pain in more than 98% of patients, newly published study finds. Study overview. A peer-reviewed study published in Postgraduate Medicine examined the effects of hemp-derived CBD on chronic pain patients. Participants details the study involved 131 chronic pain patients from a single pain clinic, with 97 completing the 8-week follow-up. The CBD dosage, participants received CBD-rich soft gels, each containing 15.7 milligrams of CBD. Most took 2 capsules daily, totaling around 30 milligrams of CBD per day. The high efficiency rate, over 98% of the participants reported relief from chronic pain after using the CBD treatment. Opioid reduction, approximately 53% of participants reduced or eliminated their opioid use by the end of the study. It improved their sleep quality. Participants reported significant improvements in sleep quality, with average sleep scores improving over the study's period. They enhanced having a better quality of life. 89 participants noted an overall improvement in the quality of life during the study. Reduction in other medications. That's good. Some participants reduced or stopped using medications for anxiety and sleep disorders. The minimal side effects. The study reported minimal side effects, suggesting that low-dose CBD is well tolerated. The study had a design. This was a prospective, single-arm cohort study focusing on potential of cannabinoids as alternatives to opioids. Pretty good. The CBD composition. The CBD soft gels contain trace amounts of other cannabinoids and terpenes, including THC, cannabidiol, cannabidiolic acid, and cannabicromium. So like CBD, CBG, CBC, and CBN. Mm-hmm. Assessment tools. Researchers used questionnaires to assess pain intensity, sleep quality, and opioid usage at baseline, 4 weeks and 8 weeks. Pain interference reduction. The participants reported decreased pain interference in daily activities over the course of the study. The consistency with other research, though, findings align with emerging literature suggesting CBD's effectiveness as an analgesic. Potential for opioid substitution. The study supports the potential of CBD as a substitute of adjunct to opioid therapy in chronic pain management. That's pretty good. Low dosage effectiveness. The study demonstrated that relatively low dosage of CBD, 30 milligrams daily, can be effective, contrasting with other studies using much higher doses. Low dose CBD wins. Regulatory context. Despite CBD's federal legality under the 2018 Farm Bill, the FDA has yet to issue finalized guidelines for its use in dietary supplements and food products. Lead author insight. Alex Capano highlighted the study's significance in identifying specific data points like dosages and delivery methods. There's some broader implications the study adds to the growing body of evidence supporting CBD's role in pain management and its potential to reduce reliance on opioids. And some future research. The authors suggest that further research is needed to confirm these findings and to explore CBD mechanisms of action in pain relief. That's pretty good. Mm-hmm. Go CBD. Gotta love it, right?
Yep.
The largest ever analysis of medical marijuana to treat cancer symptoms show overwhelming scientific consensus on benefits. Tell us about it, Mrs. Weedman. Give us the story.
Researchers this week published what they described as the largest meta-analysis ever conducted on medical cannabis and its effects on cancer-related symptoms, finding overwhelming scientific consensuses on marijuana's therapeutic effects. The study, published in the journal Frontiers in Oncology, analyzed data from 10,641 peer-reviewed studies. What authors say is more than 10 times the number in the next largest review on the topic. Results indicate a strong and growing consensus within the scientific community regarding the therapeutic benefits of cannabis, it says, particularly in the context of cancer. Given what the report calls a scattered and heterogeneous state of research into the therapeutic potential of marijuana, authors aimed to systematically assess the existing literature on medical cannabis, focusing on its therapeutic potential, safety profiles, and role in cancer treatment. We expected controversy. What we found was overwhelming scientific consensus. Lead author Ryan Castle, head of research at Whole Health Oncology Institute, said in a statement, "This is one of the clearest, most dramatic validations of medical cannabis in cancer care that the scientific community has ever seen. The meta-analysis showed that for every one study that showed cannabis was ineffective, there were 3 that showed it worked," the Whole Health Oncology Institute said in a press release. That 3-to-1 ratio, especially in a field as rigorous as biomedical research, isn't just unusual, it's extraordinary. The Institute added that the level of consensus found here rivals or exceeds that for many FDA-approved medications. My mouth, I've got like cotton mouth.
Take a sip.
Yeah, I smoked this last night with my sister, and we were like I felt like we had sandbags in our mouth. Like, hold on a second. Okay. The strong consensus supporting the therapeutic use of cannabis, particularly in the context of cancer, suggests that there is a substantial scientific basis for re-evaluating cannabis's legal status and its classification as a Schedule I substance. Researchers said in the paper. Authors wrote, noting that the consistency of positive sentiments across a wide range of studies suggests that cannabis should be re-evaluated within the medical community as a treatment option. While the analysis looked at the wide range of cancer-related data, the 4-person research team from the Hawaii-based Whole Health Oncology Institute and the Chopra Foundation in New York highlighted some key findings in their press release. For example, the analysis indicated that cannabis reduced the proliferation of cancer cells. It limited the spread of cancer by inhibiting metastasis and increased the natural death of cancer cells. That's huge.
That's really big.
It also noted what they described as cannabis's profound anti-inflammatory effect, a critical factor since inflammation is linked to over 80% of the world's most debilitating chronic conditions. The analysis highlighted the anti-inflammatory potential of cannabis, its use in managing cancer-related symptoms such as pain, nausea, and appetite loss, and explored the consensus on its use as an anti-carcinogenic agent, says the report, adding that the consistent correlation strengths for cannabis as both a palliative adjunct and a potential anti-carcinogenic agent redefine the consensus around cannabis as a medical intervention. Wow. Overall, the analysis found support in the published research for medical marijuana was 31 times stronger than opposition to it.
Wow.
Authors acknowledged some possible limitations to the findings, potentially leading to some misinterpretations. This is particularly relevant in medical literature, where a negative sentiment in one context, such as describing the progression of a disease, does not necessarily imply a negative evaluation of a treatment or intervention, the study says. It emphasizes the importance of employing additional validation methods. While the new meta-analysis underscores the need for further robust research into how cannabis might be used to treat cancer symptoms or the disease itself, authors wrote, its examination of the correlations between cannabis use and large-scale research sentiments, particularly in oncology, lays the groundwork for future research and policy decisions that could significantly impact public health and patient care. A separate study of medical marijuana patients in Minnesota, published in February, found that people with cancer who use cannabis reported significant improvements in cancer-related symptoms. But it also noted that the high cost of marijuana can be burdensome to less financially stable patients and raised questions about affordability and access to this therapy. The National Cancer Institute last year estimated that between 20 and 40% of people being treated for cancer are using cannabis products to manage side effects from the condition and associated treatment. The growing popularity of cannabis products among people with cancer has tracked with the increasing number of states that have legalized cannabis for medical use, the agency said. But research has lagged on whether and which cannabis products are a safe or effective way to help with cancer-related symptoms and treatment-related side effects. Included in the research cited was a series of scientific reports published in the journal JNCI Monographs. That package of 14 articles detailed the results of broad, federally funded cannabis surveys of cancer patients from a dozen agency-designated cancer centers around the country, including in areas where marijuana is legal, permitted only for medical purposes, or still outlawed. In all, just under a third of patients reported using cannabis, with respondents reporting that they use marijuana primarily to treat cancer and treatment-related symptoms such as difficulty sleeping, pain, and mood changes. The most common perceived benefits were for pain, sleep, stress, and anxiety, and treatment of side effects, the report says. Another recent study in the journal Discover Oncology, it concluded that a variety of cannabinoids, including delta-9, THC, CBD, and CBG, show promising potential as anti-cancer agents through various mechanisms. For example, by limiting the growth and spread of tumors. Authors acknowledge that obstacles to incorporating cannabis into cancer treatment remain, such as regulatory barriers and the need to determine optimal dosing. As a 2019 literature review found, the majority of the studies have been based on in vitro experiments, meaning they did not involve human subjects but rather isolated cancer cells from humans, while some of the research used mice. Consistent with the latest findings, that study found cannabis showed potential in slowing the growth of cancer cells and even killing cancer cells in certain cases.
Yuki's having a moment.
Yeah.
She's upstairs protecting the house. If you hear her, sorry, everybody.
A scientific review of CBD last year also touched on the diverse anti-cancer properties of cannabinoids that the authors said present promising opportunities for future therapeutic interventions in cancer treatment. Research from 2023 also found that marijuana was associated with improved cognition and reduced pain among cancer patients and people receiving chemotherapy. We'll continue to share new study information as it becomes available.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
That's good stuff right there.
That's very big.
Win for cannabis. Always winning. Always winning. Right?
Yeah.
Trying to keep it down. Always winning.
That's politics.
Yeah, because there's new data that's linking pot with dementia now, right? But it's not the whole story.
Mm-mm.
So they're trying to say that pot leads to dementia. Of course. Right. Keep on. It's reefer madness 2.0. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So cannabis has become increasingly popular in the U.S. The spread of legalization along with the decline in alcohol use means more people are comfortable consuming pot products. While widely viewed as a safer alternative to booze, weed does not carry some inherent risk. Despite all this, a recently released study has some consumers scared. But should they be, Mrs. Weedman?
No.
Should they be? The headlines are all similar. People who are hospitalized due to cannabis-related issues are more likely to develop dementia. The story center of the recent study published in the Journal of JAMA Neurology. JAMA. 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 The paper analyzed hospital records of adults aged 45 to 105 years old in Ontario, Canada. It found that individuals with the incident acute care due to cannabis use had a 1.5-fold and a 3.9-fold increased risk of dementia diagnosis within 5 years. When compared to people hospitalized for any reason and the general population of the same demographics, respectively. The paper analyzed hospital records of adults in a disturbing thought, the idea that using weed could lead to a dramatic and incurable neurodegenerative disorder. However, it is important to note that the paper does not prove there's an actual link between the two.
Then what's the point?
Right.
Something
the authors are reiterating.
They're just like
Reefer Madness 2.0. Right? In an interview with CNN, study co-author Dr. Daniel Marin said, "This is not a study that anyone should look at and say, jury's in, and cannabis use causes dementia."
Then why is it even being talked about?
Exactly.
They didn't prove anything or disprove anything.
Reefer Madness 2.0.
So it's just like a hypothetical.
Right.
And they're getting airtime.
Right. It is important clarification, especially given the active compounds in cannabis have been shown to have neuroprotective qualities.
Yes.
Other research has shown the plant may help reduce symptoms of agitation in people with Alzheimer's. Another fact not mentioned in many reports is that medical marijuana is prescribed to many people with Alzheimer's around the country for symptoms that often accompany the disease. The recent Canadian study is simply another example of data cherry picking that seems all too common. Reefer Madness 2.0. And the lack of casualty seems to be the afterthought in the majority of reporting. Read between the lines, everybody. It's a similar story time and time again. Health records are analyzed to find possible connections between pot and serious conditions. It's happened with cannabis and heart conditions and even death. But casualties is never proven. However, selective reporting may cause the general public to believe otherwise, like Mrs. Weedman said. The Canadian paper did note that people with alcohol-related hospitalizations were greater risk of dementia diagnosis than those with cannabis-related care. However, the headlines are all about the weed. It's not easy to say that cannabis consumption doesn't carry some risk, but there are extremes, as headlines would have you believe. It's been a growing trend. Fear-mongering around cannabis akin to what? Reefer Madness 2.0. The bottom line, articles typically more than just just a lead, so read closely. And remember, there's always two sides to every story. Always follow your heart and go for the right one. Right, Mrs. Weedman?
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you really enjoy about weed?
Munchies.
Look at the smile too. It's so good. Your smile is so
I like
good.
my munchies.
So are the munchies real?
For me, they are.
Cannabis science, food, and flavor. Tell us about it, Mrs.
Yes.
Weedman.
The munchies effect. Those sudden, often intense cravings for salty, sweet, or high-fat snacks after cannabis use. It isn't just anecdotal. It's biological. According to a 2009 study in Nature Neuroscience, cannabis compounds activate the brain's endocannabinoid system, which heightens our senses of smell and taste. That sensory boost makes food more appealing and can override the body's natural signals of fullness.
There you go.
Yeah, a pint of ice cream later. Few cookies and then a few more. THC. Also, Mr. Weedman doesn't have this problem.
No, I don't.
No.
I do love food, though. I am a foodie.
Yeah.
I just don't get the munchies.
Yeah. THC also promotes the release of the hunger hormone ghrelin.
Ghrelin?
Which further
Is that a gremlin?
Gremlins. That explains a lot. That's what I feel like when I munch out.
No, you cannot eat after midnight, though, because if you're a gizmo, the little gremlin, the cute little gremlin. If
Yeah.
you eat after midnight, that's when you turn into the nasty, ugly fucking
Well,
gremlin.
I can't eat after midnight anymore because I'm an old lady who has to take a bunch of freaking medication. And so, yeah, what difference does that make? So I'm not turning into that little
turning
crazy.
into
I'm just going to stay Gizmo
all right.
and stuff my face. All right. So your body releases this hormone ghrelin, which further stimulates appetite and encourages food-seeking behavior. See? In short, weed doesn't just make you hungry. It makes food feel more vivid, more rewarding, and harder to resist. Yes. But it's not just about flavor. A 2019 study in the Journal of Psychopharmacology found that cannabis also increases dopamine activity in the striatum, the part of the brain that controls reward-seeking behavior. So the munchies aren't just a reaction. They're a reward loop. A full body yes to whatever feels good, fast, and easy. That said, the effect isn't one size fits all. Chronic cannabis use can alter how the reward system responds over time, and not all users experience the same intensity of dopamine-driven food desire. I haven't gotten there yet.
You got a lot of dopamine.
Yeah. That might explain why cannabis-friendly food holidays like 420 have become unofficial showcases for fast food indulgence. From extra cheesy nachos to triple patty burgers, the food isn't just functional, it's engineered to satisfy every level. The appeal is emotional as much as it is physical. A craving, yes, but also a comfort. But the munchies don't happen in a vacuum. What we reach for when that craving hits is shaped by something else entirely, and that's culture. And in 2025, that culture is increasingly fast, familiar, and available through any app. A recent TasteWise survey found that 75% of Americans eat fast food at least once a week. Among Gen Z and millennials, nearly half say they're eating more fast food than they were just a year ago. Their top reasons: cravings, comfort, and convenience. That trifecta is also the blueprint for a munchies meal. Salty, satisfying, no prep required. So when 420 rolls around, it's not just a stoner holiday anymore. It's a high-demand food moment, one where brands can lean into what consumers are already doing when they're tired, overstimulated, or emotionally frayed, reaching for something hot, fast, and reliable. What used to be whispered about is now tracked in government databases. In the latest WHO...
How much fucking brownies you eat or something?
Yeah.
How many
probably
cookies?
your weed.
Oh, gotcha.
It's being recorded, right? In the latest WHO Global School-Based Student Health Survey, cannabis use is listed right alongside fast food, soda, and physical activity as a behavioral health metric. That might not seem groundbreaking. I think it does, that they put that and that kids would answer.
Yeah.
But it points to a broader shift in how cannabis is framed, not as a moral failure, but as measurable behavior, not as deviance, but as data. That shift matters. When public health frameworks start treating cannabis use the same way they treat food frequency or screen time, brands are quick to follow. Of course they are. Not with warnings, but with promotions, with late-night bundles, with stoner-safe snacks that feel more like self-care than a vice. That normalization shows up in the numbers, too. According to Gallup, 16% of U.S. adults say they smoke marijuana in 2022, up from just 7% in 2013. That's double in less than a decade, thanks to legalization, cultural softening, and a generational shift in what cannabis means. It's mainstream and fast food brands that are watching. For millennials and Gen Z, many of whom came of age alongside dispensary menus and infused gummies, 420 doesn't feel transgressive. It feels like a craving calendar, and the brands lining up to feed it, they know it's not just about the weed. It's about what comes after, the bite, the hit, the relief. In recent years, everyone from Taco Bell to Jack in the Box to Fatburger have rolled out food and drink promotions that nod to the 420 crowd. The strategy is familiar. Bigger, bolder, cheesier, add more sauce, name it something slightly chaotic, drop it after 10 p.m. And yep, it's working. According to a recent global data survey, early findings show a potential rise in the consumption of savory snacks, chocolate, and confectionery, especially in North America. Unlike the energy drink space where Gen Z dominates, these snack spikes are driven largely by older millennials and Gen X. In other words, the munchies market is broader, and it's reshaping what indulgence looks like across demographics. The relationship between cannabis, appetite, and health isn't as linear as it looks. While cannabis clearly heightens cravings, studies suggest it isn't necessarily linked to obesity. And many even correlate it with lower diabetes risk. The munchies aren't just about eating more. They might be about eating differently or seeking out satisfaction on entirely different terms.
The munchies.
The munchies. Doritos.
Yeah. This was something interesting. I'm very conscious of what I eat for my gut. I'm very big on gut health. Over the years, I've learned since like when we first met, when I studied Taoism. I studied that book and learned more about what eating was, what your lower intestines, your smaller into your bit larger intestines, and your whole gut microdome, whatever they call it, microbiome, in there. It made a difference in my life. Smooth moves, like we talked about earlier, and just having good digestion and not having inflammation, and a lot of stuff I've learned by studying health for a very long time, as long as you've known me, probably even longer. I've been studying health since high school. I've always been intrigued about.
We've both always been.
Yes,
we've both always read on it.
Yes,
you do more reading than I do.
Went to school for it too. And I went to school for health and science and personal training and stuff. And I was always intrigued about how the inner workings of your body works. This was something very interesting, though. We don't talk much about the gut when you use cannabis, right? So does your gut want you to get high? Exploring the cannabis microbiome connection. Very interesting here. There'll be some words that Mr. Weedman screws up. I have a definition, but I'm still going to screw up some words. It's just I'm stoned, and there's some of these words like alioilithiolafluoride. I'm going to fuck that up, just letting you all know right now. But there is an acronym for it, but there is some big words in this article that I am going to screw the hell up. So don't be mad, but I love you. What if your experience with cannabis isn't just in your brain, but in your gut? The idea sounds absurd at first, but when you consider the trillions of bacteria, viruses, including phages, which is it's basically, I do have the definition for it, everybody. I just want to let you know. It is when, I looked it up just so I know. It is also known formally as a phage, is the virus that infects and replicates within bacteria. The term is derived from ancient Greek to devour and bacteria. Bacteriophages are composed of protein. So it's just a simple term of a virus that infects and replicates only in bacteria cells. Simple terms for it. So I just wanted to make sure you all understood that word because I didn't. Fungi and other microorganisms living inside your body, collectively known as the microbiome. It begins to make a strange kind of sense. The microbes help digest your food, regulate inflammation, shape your immune system, and even tweak your mood. The gut sends more information to your brain than any other organ. Via the vagal nerve. They maybe talking to your endocannabinoid system, the same network of receptors targeted by cannabis. A 2025 review by Mei So Tu, PhD, and colleagues published a biomedicine and pharmacotherapy dives into the very intersection, exploring how cannabinoids and gut bacteria influence each other in the context of health and disease. When paired with the perspective of science, writer Ed Yong, who has long chronicled the rise of microbiome science, the emerging story becomes even more proactive. Our bodies are not solidarity vessels. They're ecosystems. And cannabis might be another microbial whisperer. You've talked about that before. Gut feelings, a bi-directional relationship. Dr. Thru examined 9 studies. 2 clinical trials, and even observational studies investigating how cannabis and cannabinoids like THC, CBD, and other cannabinoids and the endocannabinoid system like molecules affect the human microbiota. I think I pronounced that right. Their results suggested that bidirectional interaction cannabinoids can shift microbial populations, and microbes may influence how cannabinoids are absorbed, metabolized, even how they affect the brain and body. Our other guide to this subject is Ed Yong. He is someone who deeply understands the microbiome and sees animal biology differently, seeing us not as individuals, but as collectives. This collective appears to respond to cannabinoids in specific, sometimes surprising ways. For example, the endocannabinoid system, and anandamide, AEA, which we've talked about in the show before, and then the oleolenthophamide, OEA, which we've talked about in the show, are associated with increased levels of beneficial gut microbes like Fallaciobacterium, Corpococcus, and Akkermansia municipaliae.
Yeah.
All right. All linked to anti-inflammatory effects, better metabolic health. Clinical snapshots where microbes, cannabinoids, and disease intersect in inflammatory bowel disease. In patients with IBD, cannabis may increase microbial diversity, often seen as a marker of gut health. One study found that HIV-positive patients who use marijuana, the abundance of Prevotella, a bacterium often evaluated in dysbiosis, was reduced in the rectal mucus. Mucosa. Sorry, not mucus. Rectal mucosa. Whatever that is.
Like the mucus that lines.
I know what it is.
Yes. I figured you did.
But casualty is murky. Is cannabis restoring gut balance, or are people with better gut health more likely to benefit from cannabis? Young offers a dose of skepticism from his Gizmodo interview. The majority of studies can tell us whether the changes in the microbiome are actually causing poor health or simply a consequence of them. There's evidence of the causal role for some conditions, but it's still not clear whether the microbiome is initiating the problems or simply perpetuating them. Mood, mind, and gut brain axis. The microbiome and ECS both play key roles in mood regulation, stress responses, and neuroinflammation. Cannabis use has been associated with shifts in gut bacteria linked to anxiety and depression, yet these shifts could be beneficial or harmful depending on dose, duration, and individual variations. In people with cognitive impairment and chronic marijuana use, one study reported a lower Prevotol bacteroids ratio, a change also associated with altered mitochondrial function. Jeez, words are so hard. I told you all this was going to be a hard article,
a big one.
But it's a good article, though. This suggests cannabis might modulate not just the mind, but the microbiota. Mitochondria conversation. Oh my gosh. Hamana. Again, Young urges caution. There is this assumption that any change to the microbiome is necessarily bad. It's still not clear whether the loss of diversity is a bad thing or what extent it accounts for alignments of modern life like allergies or autoimmune disease. In most cases, we simply do not know if the changes are good or bad. Obesity and cannabis paradox. Cannabis users often report higher caloric intake, let's just say. Caloric intake. Oh, gosh.
You got it.
I did. Yet population studies show lower obesity rates and reduced diabetes prevalence. How? One clue, cannabinoids like OEA appear to increase municiphilia, a bacterium that ferments fiber into beneficial short-chain fatty acids and supports metabolic health. Though et al. Highlights this connection in clinical trial of OEA supplementation in obese individuals, which led to notable rise in microbiota ally. Mechanisms. How does cannabis affect the microbiome? Here's what the Thu Review and others propose. Cannabinoids regulate bacterial gene expression, modulating immune response and short-chain fatty acid production. Microbes influence cannabinoid receptors, expressions, and may affect produces ECS-like signaling molecules. Cannabis may reduce gut permeability, leaky gut, the runs, curbing systematic inflammation. This kind of systematic cross blurs the boundaries between plant, host, and microbe. In an interview with the National Institute of Health, Jokins likens the complexity of ecology itself. Altering someone's microbiome is as complicated as changing a rainforest or a coral reef. Wow. If that's true, cannabis might be more like rainfall, sometimes healing, sometimes flooding, depending on the environment. Cannabinoid showers brings their own flowers, to paraphrase an old saying. Do gut bacteria enjoy cannabis? Do phages get high?
Are you asking me?
No, I'll be telling you in a second. I just need to take a little sip.
I suddenly got my glasses and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't remember that article.
These tongue-in-cheek questions highlight deeper scientific curiosity. Are the effects of cannabis meditated purely through human cells, or are microbes co-experiencing these effects? Do some bacteria flourish under THC exposure while others wilt? While we don't yet know if bacteria enjoy cannabis, the review suggests that our microbial guests do respond. Chemically, behaviorally, and perhaps adaptively, some microbes might increase SCFA production if the presence of cannabinoids. Others might become more competitive or cooperative, subtly nudging our immune system or appetite in ways that echo through our bodies and brains. And what about phages, viruses that prey on bacteria? Could they be influenced by host ECS changes or by bacterial metabolites that stem from cannabinoid processing? No studies have answered this yet, but it's not outlandish to wonder. The future personalizing cannabis via the microbiome. Imagine a future where your microbiome determines which cannabis formulation works best for you, or where gut-targeted prebiotics are used to boost the benefits or reduce the side effects of cannabinoids. This is not science fiction. The Thu Review calls for standardized cannabis preparation for research, microbiome-aware clinical trials, tracking microbial and ECS changes over time. Jung seems to support such an approach, if not a broader scope. You can't just look at basic science and predict which bits are going to bear fruit. You need to explore it for its own sake, a grander view of life and medicine. The cannabis microbiome connection invites us to think differently, not just about health, but about selfhood. Are we individuals with minds and bodies, or are we a walking ecosystem guided by unseen partners? Cannabis doesn't just act on neurons. It flows through the microbial forest inside us. And maybe, just maybe, your gut is part of the reason you reach for it. As Jung so elegantly puts it, all the biology I grew up learning as a kid is only a fraction of the true biology that exists. The gut, ladies and gentlemen. Take care of your gut, and it'll take care of the rest of your body. Because everything comes from your gut.
The gut.
The gut. This was an interesting article, right?
Yeah.
Damning research reveals nasty problem with pot. Yes. Tell us about it, Mrs. Weedman. There's a word in here, too, that we have a definition for you that we'll read just in case.
Yeah. The cannabis industry may have a hemp problem. According to lawmakers across the United States, over the last few years, intoxicating THC-laden hemp products have proliferated. So let me just clarify. Hemp, usually by law, is producing flower that has like a maximum of 0.3% THC. Okay. So, if you go to a dispensary and you're having a cannabis, sativa, indica, a cannabis derived THC product, that's what you find at your recreational and medical dispensaries. That is coming from the cannabis plant. It has a higher level of THC. You're looking at like 17% and higher. Okay. Big difference. So you have to understand that to get a hemp joint or a hemp edible, to have a high end, like say you're having an edible from your dispensary, you're looking at on average a 5 or 10 milligram edible for a single dose. Well, that again, that THC is coming in at a much higher percentage. So the concentration requires less flour. If you need to make a hemp-derived edible, that's 5 or 10 milligrams, you need a lot more flour or a lot more concentrate and a lot more processing to get to that, okay? So that hemp-derived product is what you're finding in a lot of health food stores and in a lot of unregulated space, okay? That's what this is about. We're going to talk about that process of getting a high-potency THC product from a hemp product, not a cannabis product. It's very confusing for everybody. Trust me.
For 6 years now, we've been talking about this and trying to help
everybody
you understand.
throws around different terms and talks about it a little bit differently, so it gets very blurry very easy.
Yes.
Okay? But we are talking about hemp-derived THC. Okay. These companies utilized a perceived loophole in the 2018 Farm Bill to manipulate compliant hemp until it contained an intoxicating amount of THC. The products are increasingly popular, especially in states without legal weed. This rising popularity, combined with ignorance about how hemp THC is made, has led some state lawmakers to ban the products altogether. Others have opted to regulate the vapes, edibles, and topicals. Public safety is at the helm of lawmaker arguments against intoxicating hemp, but most may be missing the mark. Few understand the dangers that could hide inside these products, and there are currently few regulations stopping people from consuming them. Recent research out of Michigan shows that even regulated products are potentially at risk. Truly knowing hemp THC comes down to science. Chemist John Swider, co-founder of Infinite Chemical Analysis Labs, explained that cannabis sativa can create 4 enantiomers.
Do you want me to tell you what the definition of that word is?
Yes, what is an enantiomer?
So an enantiomer is, the chemistry of an enantiomer is also known as the optical isomer. Antiphode or optical antiphode is one of a pair of molecular entities which are mirroring images of each other and non-superposable. Enantiomer molecules are like the right and left hands. One cannot be superposed onto the other without first being converted to a mirror image. It is solely a relationship of the similarity and the permanent three-dimensional relationships among molecules of other chemical structures. No amount of reorientation of the molecules as a whole or conformational change converts one chemical into an enantiomer.
So it's molecules that are identical.
Yes.
They mirror each other, okay?
Yes.
So cannabis sativa can create 4 different nanometers. Okay, cannabis plants produce mirror image molecules, these enantiomers, in specific ratios. And the THC many are used to consuming comes from type 1 weed. Okay, we'll get into that. Type 1 weed most often contains the enantiomer negative trans delta 9 THC and no cis delta 9 THC. We'll explain. While hemp plants do not have that enantiomer combo and produce their own ratio with more cis THC. Okay, so it's the cis and the negative trans delta. This is the no cis and cis. It's very confusing.
I got yelled at about this article from Mrs.
I was like,
Weedman.
Why are you doing this to the people?
Because
this is very confusing.
Because that's why.
Right.
It is
it's
confusing.
Very confusing.
And people need to understand what you're buying at a shop. Right?
Yes.
Or a legal dispensary. You need to know this. This is educational. This is what it's all about.
So basically what I just said in whatever language I just spoke, basically they're just further identifying scientifically that cannabis and the hemp plant are going to produce a different THC. Okay? The molecules in that THC are different.
Science.
Okay? So, again, the hemp plant doesn't have the same enantiomer combos, so it has more cis THC. And this understanding is supported by many cannabis chemists. There are ratios naturally produced in hemp-derived THC products, but synthesized ones tell a different story. So now we've kind of explained there's your cannabis THC and there's your hemp THC. But now we're talking about further taking this hemp THC, like I talked about, and getting it synthesized so you can get this THC strength to be higher, to be mind altering. Okay. When synthesized, theories assert that cis THC shows up at a different ratio. This type of hemp-derived THC is generally CBD extract that has been chemically altered into THC.
Ooh.
Okay? So now think about that. There's no regulation. You're chemically altering something, a plant, it has chemicals, and you're changing it, right? And do you know that this is being done properly in accordance to like ways that would be good for your body? Or is this being done in like a dirty old warehouse because it's unregulated? You don't know. I think there are very reputable products out there in the CBD world that are, maybe some of them are psychotropic, but mostly like the good RSO type, or like the heavy duty CBD products, the full spectrum CBD products. There's good product out there. But when we're talking about this THC, the CBD derived THC, it's very manipulated.
Right.
It's very manipulated. Okay. So this type of hemp derived THC is generally CBD extract that has been chemically altered into THC. In a lab, Swider believes these enantiomers indicate what type of THC is in each product, but that is not all. THC synthesization is believed to leave byproducts behind in the cannabis vapes and edibles. Swider finds iso-delta-8 THC in all of the samples he deems synthesized. Chemists agree this is a potential impurity from a synthesizing process. There are no documented safety issues with iso-delta-8, and it's only one of almost 30 byproducts that Swider has detected in synthesized hemp-derived THC. We overlaid a bunch of cannabis distillate on top of the synthetic spectra and saw an additional 35 to 40 peaks that are not showing up in cannabis, but in pure synthetic delta-9 THC, Swider shared. Iso-delta-8 was one of those compounds present in a sample, while many remain unidentified. Michigan for Safe Cannabis Coalition, so MISCO, a group of cannabis operators and owners that includes Swider, recently announced results from the first audit of adult use products in a press release. They purchased 45 samples of distillate vapes from the Michigan market to test whether they were truly safe for consumption. The sampling process covered 22 of the top 30 brands in the state, according to data company Headset. They purchased 2 products from each brand, then tested them using a strict chain of custody protocol. All member samples passed 100% of the regulatory tests. Of the remaining 35 products, the report alleges that 14% contained banned MCT oil, which was linked to the vape scare of 2019. 14% of those products. 11% had more than the legal amount of delta-8 THC. And one sample failed for multiple pesticides above the allowed levels. Each of these compounds has shown potential health risks when inhaled. Mm-hmm. There was also an issue with synthetic enantiomer levels. 54% of the non-member samples had a ratio of THC enantiomers indicating it is synthetic delta-9 THC, a compound that has been banned in the state since 2012. 26% of that alleged synthetic crop also contained PTSA, a chemical catalyst in textile dyes, cleaning products, and paints. Safety data on PTSA states that it could cause severe skin burns, eye damage, or respiratory irritation. PTSA was not found in all samples, but the risk indicates it shouldn't be in any. MISCO presented this information to the Michigan Cannabis Regulatory Agency, the CRA. through the formal complaint portal and described the regulatory body as willing to listen. The group will continue pushing for safer products through similar initiatives and is keen on inviting the brands who tested clean to join their coalition. Those seeking to find out which brands failed will have to wait until after the case is closed. The CRA will issue a press release naming names if erogenous issues are found or a recall is required. Otherwise, interested parties will have to do so through a formal Freedom of Information request. So isn't that terrible? Like, these products will still remain out there if they don't have to do a recall.
Right.
While due process might have started, it could take time before these specific vapes are off store shelves. There is no perfect answer for how to regulate the hemp space and adult use cannabis together. State lawmakers continue passing legislation on the topic that they believe best serves their constituents. While they figure it out, consumers should try to purchase hemp products with a verified chain of custody. This indicates where the hemp was sourced from. Until testing standards catch up, the best bet is to avoid synthesized THC products. Lawmakers interested in properly regulating these compounds should understand precisely what they are and how to chemically read them. These theories open new vital areas of inquiry for maintaining public safety as people explore the wide world of weed.
The wild world of weed.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, 100%. You know, that's why that article was so important. I know it frustrated you when you were working on it today, but it was important that people understand and get educated on between the two, because it's still very confusing. Yeah. You're still confused about it to this day. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about this for 6 years.
I know.
I'm not making fun. It's confusing. Kind of no.
I'm going to get sensitive now.
Don't be sensitive.
I'm going to get salty.
I thought we.
You should be. It's okay. You're not confused at all about it? You totally 100% understand
I would say I understand about 85% of it. We've read so much about it and learned so much about it over the years, but it still gets confusing. It does. I like I said, I'm about 15% confused
We've
sometimes.
never discussed enantiomers before.
No, we haven't.
That's new.
Even more confusing.
See? And cis and dis
15%. What's that?
Cis and dis and this? Not dis and cis.
Oh, shit. We got political, state, and business news.
Yeah.
Hemp industry grew in 2024 despite the state and federal push for bans on consumable products like Delta-8 THC, USDA report finds. Bam. Despite increasing state and federal efforts to restrict consumable hemp products like Delta-8, the hemp industry experienced notable growth in 2024, according to the USDA's National Hemp Report. The value of hemp production rose by 18% to $291 million, with significant increases in hemp flower and seed production. This growth occurred even as legalized actions such as House Committee approval of the amendment to 2024 Farm Bill, aiming to ban intoxicating hemp-derived cannabinoids, threatened to reshape the industry. The report underscores the sector's resilience and regulatory challenges. Poetic justice: how cannabis fuels Evanston, Illinois' reparations. Evanston, Illinois is utilizing a 3% tax on cannabis sales to found its groundbreaking reparations program for black residents. Since its inception, the tax has contributed significantly to the city's $5.5 million reparational fund. Alderman Bobby Burns, a member of the Reparations Committee, emphasized that symbolic significance and using cannabis revenue to support communities historically harmed by its prohibition, stating that there's some poetic justice in using cannabis tax revenue to help repair the community harmed by its prohibition. The approach not only provides financial resources for reparations, but also addresses past injustices related to drug enforcement policies. Go Evanston, Illinois. I will after I'm done doing this. I can't see so good. Montgomery County Circuit Judge James Anderson keeps medical cannabis program on hold. Alabama. Come on. Montgomery County Circuit Judge James Anderson has extended a temporary restraining order halting the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission from issuing businesses licenses. It's never going to end, Alabama. I'm rooting for you every step of the way. And I'm praying that you finally get some kind of medical, your peach rings and your suppositories that you've always dreamed about when it came to cannabis. But This decision stems from concerns that the AMCC may have violated the state's Open Meetings Act by discussing licenses awards in a closed executive session. Just trying to find another way to stop this. Mm-hmm. While the award licenses remain unchanged, the order delays further actions, including site visits and license fee payments. A hearing is scheduled for August 28th to address these issues. Didn't the governor say, just fuck it and just start? I mean, the AMCC contends that the executive session was lawful to protect applicants' confidential information, whereas some unuseful applicants argue for a more transparent process. I'm feeling for you, Alabama.
Yeah.
I really am. Is America missing out on the global cannabis boom? I say we 100% are. Despite the global cannabis market rapid expansion, the U.S. risks missing out due to federal inaction. Countries like Canada and Colombia are capitalizing on cannabis exports while U.S. businesses face regulatory hurdles. The lack of federal legalization hampers American companies' ability to compete internationally, potentially forfeiting billions in revenue. Experts warn that without policy reform, the U.S. could lose its competitive edge in the global cannabis industry. The situation underscores the urgent need for federal clarity to enable American participation in the global cannabis boom. North Dakota governor signs bill to legalize medical marijuana edibles that meet certain requirements. North Dakota Governor Kelly Armstrong signed a bill legalizing certain medical marijuana edibles for registered patients. The law permits edibles in the form of lozenges, each containing more than 5 milligrams of THC per serving, with a maximum of 50 milligrams per package. This marks a significant expansion of the state's medical cannabis program, which previously allowed only flower, tinctures, capsules, and patches. What, no gummies? What do you got against gummies? You got to do a fucking Luden's cherry cough drop. It takes forever to fucking suck one of those down to get that fucking weed. I like a good fucking hard candy, but I don't want a fucking gummy or a cookie or something I can eat right away and swallow it, man. You got to suck like what is that? The Tootsie Roll Pop. How many licks does it take to get
to the center?
To the center. Mm-hmm. Well, how many licks do you get fucking high with those fucking things? You know, it's going to take forever. Come on.
I like lollipops.
I'm not saying I don't. I'm saying, but it takes forever.
It takes a minute.
Right. You know, give me a 5 milligram gummy to get me started. Then I'll suck on a lozenge, you know. Doesn't that make good sense?
Yeah.
Advocates view the more positive step forward, broader access, despite the relatively strict dosage limits compared to other states. 50 milligrams, what are you going to do? The thing is, what is your overall allotment of what you can buy milligram dosage? Just because it's only 50 milligrams per pack that you can buy, maybe your allotment is 250.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and maybe your pricing would be $10 versus here in Illinois where it's $20. Just that's average MSRP, not with discounting and all the bullshit. So, you know, so you might get $10 gummies for 50 milligrams, which, you know, you might be able to buy 250 milligrams.
Right.
You know, which isn't bad. So, University of Mississippi, the lead national cannabis resource center. The University of Mississippi has been selected to lead a new resource center for cannabis and cannabinoid research, funded by $1.2 million NIH grant. Operating within the National Center of Natural Product Research, the R3CR aims to advance cannabis research nationwide by offering resources such as interactive websites, webinars, conferences, and seed funding. The center will support scientists in navigating regulatory and science challenges, enhance research quality, and contribute to evidence-based cannabis products development. This initiative is expected to significantly impact the landscape of cannabis research over the next 5 years. That's pretty good. Life savings are on the line. Michigan cannabis regulator warns of industry crisis. Michigan cannabis industry is facing a significant challenge, including plummeting prices, an oversupply of marijuana, and competition from unregulated hemp-derived products. Brian Hanna, executive director of the state's cannabis regulatory agency, informed lawmakers that the agency's lack of authority to suspend licenses for serious violations and cannot possess cannabis for testing purposes. He anticipates industry consolidation with similar businesses potentially closing due to financial pressures and the inability to seek federal bankruptcy protection. Industry representatives highlighted the personal toll, knowing that some growers have lost their life savings and market instability and illicit competition. Black-owned label on marijuana products increase interest among white consumers, but not black consumers, studies say. A recent study indicates that labeling cannabis products as black-owned boosts interest among their white consumers, but does not significantly affect black consumers' purchasing decisions. Researchers suggest that it may be due to white consumers' desire to support black-owned businesses, while black consumers might be skeptical of such labels, possibly perceiving them as marketing tactics rather than genuine indicators of ownership. The study highlights the complexity of consumer behavior and the need for authentic representations and trust building within the cannabis industry. Marijuana industry will add $123.6 billion to the U.S. economy this year. That's everything. That's a lot of fucking money. $123.6 billion. The U.S. cannabis industry is projected to contribute $123.6 billion to the national economy in 2025, marking a 9% increase from the previous year. This growth is driven by expanding markets in states like New York and Ohio, despite the ongoing federal regulatory challenges and declining sales in established markets such as California and Colorado. Direct medical and recreational marijuana sales are estimated at $35.3 billion, with an additional $88.3 billion stemming from ancillary economic activities. The industrial supports various sectors, including agricultural, manufacturing, retail, and services, and significantly contributes to state and local tax revenue. $123.6 billion, the whole thing, the whole enchilada. We give it to you. We are a major industry in this U.S. economy. No bullshit. Right there. We're going to project 9% increase. There's most companies that wish they can project a 9% increase. The overall cannabis market, industry, everything. We are a fucking player. And cannabis is a global player. Because it's going to be a fucking $500 billion industry.
It hasn't even begun to impact society.
Right.
Like, wait till there's like legal cannabis travel and cannabis
You're
hotels.
talking about 300 billion
farms that you could go to visit, like a pumpkin patch.
Just in this country alone, cannabis can be a $300 billion industry.
Huge.
Easy. Maybe more. Maybe close to $400 or $500 billion. In the total global aspect, if the world takes this on,
pumpkin spice is a $1 billion industry.
We're 123.6 billion. But just think globally, once this is more legalized and more off, this could be a $1 trillion industry.
Easy.
Very easy. Maybe more. Like a $2 trillion industry globally if the world accepts this, and the tax revenue on top of $2 trillion. Think about that. Think about how many lives we can help with that kind of money.
Careers,
different
jobs.
Yeah. And what we did and what other people are doing now, inventing stuff, creating stuff, new strains, new ancillary products. Medicines, just so much fun. Clothing.
All the things that can come from hemp.
Right.
Textiles,
tools. We don't have to kill the trees anymore. We can use all hemp to make everything now. Hemp
houses.
Plastic. Right.
Insulation.
Hemp.
Holy shit.
Hemp can save the world.
Hemp can save the world.
I've said it many times. Save cannabis to smoke from cannabis. Use hemp for textiles and clothing and medicines, industrial medicines too, and stuff that you could use it for. Grow it for the CBD. You free the plant, period, and watch it just soar to heights we've never seen. Changes to cannabis occupation tax rate starts July 1st in Illinois. The Illinois Department of Revenue posted a notice for all dispensaries engaged in business of selling adult-use cannabis in a retail and taxing jurisdictions that have enacted municipal or county cannabis retailers' occupation taxes. Effective July 1st, 2025, certain taxing jurisdictions have, by ordinance, imposed to change their municipal or county cannabis retailers' occupation tax on the gross receipts from sales of adult-use cannabis. These taxes are in addition to Illinois retailers' occupation tax on general merchandise, 6.25%, and any locally imposed retailers' occupation tax on general merchandise, which also applies to sales tax of adult-use cannabis. According to the press release, dispensaries must adjust cash register and any computer programs so that beginning on July 1st, 2025, dispensaries will collect and pay the correct tax rate. In unincorporated areas of the county, the rate may not exceed 3.75%. In municipalities located in the county, the rate might not exceed 3%. Damn, we pay a lot of taxes for fucking weed in this state. Oh, my God. White House drug czar could endorse marijuana legalization under new bill to repeal ludicrous restrictions. A new bill introduced in Congress aims to repeal a provision that prohibits the White House drug czar from supporting marijuana legalization. If enacted, the legislation would allow the director of the Office of National Drug Control Policy to endorse federal cannabis reform. Currently, the ONDCP director is legally required to oppose any attempt to legalize substances classified as a Schedule 1 under the Controlled Substance Act, including marijuana. The proposed bill seeks to eliminate the restrictions, potentially enabling the drug czar to advocate for changes in the federal cannabis policy. This article I really enjoyed that you're about to read. Marijuana Mythbuster. We need more research. The fallback excuse not backed by facts. And there are over 30, and we've talked about this before. I only need a joint. I have an ashtray. Thank you. Do we know which one you gave me? Because we had a.
This is today's.
I'll take the lighter one. I think this is what'd you roll? Oh, Skywalker OG. This is gonna put me to sleep in the middle of the show. This gave me a big euphoric effect last night, boy. I was like seeing some visuals last night when we were laying in bed. It was pretty nice.
That's nice.
But we talked about this before. There's over 35,000 scientific papers published on the cannabis plant. And in this article, what I love what he says the most, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but it is a good, like, captured me. How politicians say we need more research, we need more research, we need more research, we need more research to pass laws, right? Mm-hmm. But meanwhile, we have 35,000 research papers.
Mm-hmm. And we do say all the time we need more research, but we're saying that we need more research to disprove all these stigmas, and we need more research because most of the research that's been done is trying to build more of a case against cannabis.
Marijuana 2.0, Reefer Madness 2.0.
Anyway, so let's get into this. This is a big one. If I had $1 for every time a politician uttered these words about cannabis, I'd probably have enough money to fund several lifetimes of research. It's become the go-to response whenever the topic of legalization comes up, a convenient way to kick the can down the road while appearing thoughtful and responsible. But here's what keeps me up at night. How much research is enough? We currently have over 28,000 studies on cannabis, spanning decades of scientific inquiry. That's not counting the thousands of years of documented human use, dating back to some of humanity's earliest agricultural endeavors. Cannabis wasn't just any crop. It was one of our first plants that the ancestors chose to cultivate. Think about that for a moment. Yet somehow in 2024, we're still being told we need more research before we can definitively say that cannabis is safer than alcohol, a substance that claims tens of thousands of lives annually. It's as if we're stuck in an endless loop of studying while ignoring the mountain of evidence already at our disposal.
We've read a lot of it.
Today, I'm going to help you cut through this smokescreen of perpetual research requirements. We'll look at the numbers, examine the facts, and hopefully put this tired old excuse to rest once and for all. But let's be honest, if we haven't gathered enough data after thousands of years of human use and tens of thousands of scientific studies, then will we ever? Buckle up, folks. It's time to bust this myth wide open.
Yeah.
Let's talk numbers, because the figures are absolutely staggering. According to NORML's recent analysis of PubMed.gov data, scientists have published over 35,000 scientific papers about cannabis just since 2014. That's not a typo, folks. 35,000 studies in the past decade
2014.
Alone. Yeah.
We're not talking about 100 years.
Right. To put this in perspective, we are seeing over 4,000 new cannabis studies published every year. That means by the time you finish reading this article, another researcher somewhere has probably published their findings about our favorite plant. The pace of cannabis research isn't just steady, it's exploding. As NORML's deputy director, Paul Armentano, perfectly puts it, it is time for politicians and others to stop assessing cannabis through the lens of what we don't know and instead start engaging in evidence-based discussions about marijuana and marijuana reform policies that are indicative of all that we do know Here's a mind-blowing statistic. Over 70% of all peer-reviewed scientific papers about marijuana have been published in just the last 10 years. We are talking about the most intensively studied plant in modern history, with PubMed.gov now hosting over 49,500 scientific papers on marijuana dating back to 1840. And what have all of these studies taught us? Well, we know with certainty that cannabis is significantly safer than alcohol and tobacco, two perfectly legal substances that claim hundreds of thousands of lives annually. We know it's less dangerous than virtually every other substance listed in the Controlled Substances Act. We know it has legitimate medical applications. That's not up for a debate anymore. And we know its addiction potential is comparable to coffee, not heroin, despite what its Schedule I status might suggest. So when I hear politicians trot out the tired old line about needing more research, I can't help but feel my blood pressure rise. It's not just a cop-out. It's an insult to the thousands of researchers who have dedicated their careers to understanding this plant. We have more than enough scientific evidence to create sensible, evidence-based cannabis policies right now. Let's be real. Continuing to hide behind the "we need more research" smokescreen isn't about science. It's about politics. Yep. There will always be more to learn about cannabis, just like there's always more to learn about any subject. But we know enough, more than enough, to move forward with full legalization and smart regulation. The next time someone tells you we need more research before we can legalize cannabis, ask them how many studies would be enough. Then watch them squirm as they try to justify ignoring the mountain of evidence we already have. While our modern scientists continue to churn out studies about cannabis, there's another critical piece of evidence that prohibitionists conveniently ignore: humanity's thousands of years of direct experience with this remarkable plant. In fact, when you look at human history, cannabis prohibition stands out as an unnatural anomaly, a brief but destructive departure from our long-standing relationship with this plant. Let's talk about timeline. The earliest evidence of human cannabis use dates back to around 8,000 BCE in Asia, where it was one of the first plants cultivated for fiber, food, and medicine. That's 10,000 years of documented human use. What the fuck? The ancient Chinese pharmacopoeia, the Pen Sao Ching, dated back to 2700 BCE, specifically referenced cannabis as a medicine for treating a variety of ailments. Queen Victoria famously used cannabis tinctures for menstrual cramps, and even George Washington grew hemp at Mount Vernon.
Says on the dollar bill.
Dollar bill, dollar bills, y'all. Here's where it gets really interesting. Our bodies actually evolved alongside this plant. The discovery of the endocannabinoid system reveals that we have an entire network of receptors that interact with cannabis compounds. Whether you believe in intelligent design or evolution, you have to acknowledge the remarkable symmetry here. We literally have a biological system that responds to cannabis. That's no coincidence, folks. Every major civilization throughout history has documented beneficial uses of cannabis. It appeared in the United States Pharmacopoeia in 1850 until 1942, recognized for its therapeutic properties in treating numerous conditions. Ancient Egyptians used it for glaucoma, Indians for digestive issues, and Chinese doctors prescribed it for over 100 ailments. This isn't ancient superstition. Many of these applications are being validated by modern research. So what happened? Well, in 1937, against the advice of the American Medical Association, cannabis, do you hear that? Against the advice of the American Medical Association, cannabis was effectively banned in the United States.
Damn you, Harry Asslinger.
Yep, he started the war on drugs. This kicked off our grand experiment with prohibition, an 87-year detour that brought nothing but suffering, incarceration, and death. The only beneficiaries have been pharmaceutical companies, private prisons, and law enforcement agencies who have built empires around cannabis criminalization. Let's put this in perspective. We have 10,000 years of documented beneficial use versus 87 years of prohibition-induced chaos. When someone claims we don't know enough about cannabis, they're not just ignoring modern science, they're dismissing a millennia of human experience. Next time someone tries to tell you that we need more research, remind them that cannabis has been extensively studied, not just in laboratories, but in real world, across countless cultures, over thousands of years. The evidence isn't just in peer-reviewed journals. It's written in the history of human civilization itself. We don't have a knowledge gap about cannabis. We have an honesty gap among politicians who refuse to acknowledge what we already know. After diving deep into the mountains of evidence surrounding cannabis from over 35,000 recent scientific studies to the millennia of documented human use, one thing becomes crystal clear. Claiming we need more research is nothing but a smokescreen for maintaining prohibition. I am writing this article to arm you with knowledge, to inoculate you against the virus of prohibition that has infected our political discourse for far too long. The next time someone regurgitates the "we need more research" talking point, you can confidently counter with facts. We have tens of thousands of modern studies, thousands of years of documented use, and actual biological systems in our bodies designed to interact with this plant. Those still clinging to prohibitionist views aren't just uninformed, they're actively choosing to ignore a vast body of evidence. It's like standing in a library and claiming books don't exist. The only explanation for such willful ignorance is the powerful influence of special interests who profit from keeping cannabis illegal. Big pharma, private prisons, certain law enforcement agencies have built their empires on the foundation of prohibition, and they are not about to let facts get in the way of their profits. Here's the ultimate irony. While our government was floating the idea of Ministry of Truth to combat misinformation, they've been the one primary source of cannabis disinformation for nearly a century. From reefer madness to modern-day fear-mongering about the dangers of marijuana, they've consistently ignored science, dismissed history, and perpetuated lies to maintain their prohibitionist stance. It's time to call out this hypocrisy. It's time to shut down bad faith arguments about needing more research with the overwhelming evidence we already have. The truth is, we don't need more research to know that prohibition has failed. We need more courage from our politicians to stand up to special interests and implement evidence-based policies. So the next time someone tells you we need more research on cannabis, ask them, how many studies would be enough? How many years of human use would satisfy you? How much evidence do you need to acknowledge what we already know? Then watch as they struggle to defend the indefensible. The sticky bottom line is this: we have the evidence, we have the science, we have the history. What we need now is the political will to act on it. And that, my friends, starts with refusing to let tired old myths about needing more research go unchallenged. Knowledge is power, and it's time we use that power to end prohibition once and for all.
Reginald Reefer, killing it with that article. You want to know something else also?
He's like a...
You want to know something else?
Yeah, what?
You made my nipples hard when you read that article. Do you want to know why? You read it with fucking such enthusiasm and such power, and you're tan and your hair looks so good right now. So I'm watching you using some hands, pushing.
Are you flirting with me?
And my nipples got hard. I was like,
not
damn.
With that voice.
Oh, man. I was like, oh, like the dude from Waterboy.
Oh, Mr. Weedman. Mr. Weedman.
International news. Ganja stakeholders called for reset and inclusion 10 years after enactment of Dangerous Drug Amendment Act. 10 years after Jamaica's Dangerous Drug Amendment Act decriminalized small amounts of ganja, stakeholders, including the ganja growers and producers associated with Jamaica, are calling for the comprehensive reset of the cannabis industry. They argue that the current regulatory framework has marginalized traditional cultivators, especially Rastafari, and small-scale farmers who were instrumental in establishing Jamaica's global ganja reputation. Their 7-point plan includes renaming the legalization, full legalization for adult use, amnesty for traditional growers, new licensing categories, access to arable land, reforming the Cannabis Licensing Authority, and improved banking access. They emphasize the need for an exclusive, equitable industry that honors culture and historical contributions. Hell yeah, Jamaica. We need to get there one day. One day. Slovenian parliament introduces Europe's most progressive medical cannabis laws, says ICBC. We don't talk much about Slovenia. This is I think the first. Slovenia's parliament has introduced a groundbreaking medical cannabis bill poised to establish one of Europe's most progressive frameworks. The legislation legalizes the cultivation, production, distribution, and use of cannabis for medical and scientific purposes under a regulated system. It features an open licensing model, accessible to qualified individuals and companies, eliminates the state monopoly, and mandates compliance with GACP and GMP and the European Pharmacopoeia standards. The bill also removes cannabis and THC from the prohibited substance list for medical and scientific use, allows standards medical and veterinary prescriptions, and ensures patients access through pharmacies and licensed providers. This initiative aligns with the 2024 advisory referendum, where 66.7% of the voters supported medical cannabis cultivation, and positions Slovenia's medical cannabis market to grow by 4% annually, reaching over 55 million euros by 2029. Good for you, Slovenia. Home team right there. You need to teach Florida to get to 60% so they can go wreck. Pakistan, to permit industrial hemp cultivation. Pakistan's Mazils was approved legislation to legalize industrial hemp cultivation, aiming to boost domestic industries like paper, textiles, and construction. Vice Minister of International Affairs, Sanjira Adilov, emphasized that industry's hemp contains only 0.1% to 0.3% THC, distinguishing from the psychoactive cannabis and posing no interest to drug users. The ministry has already issued 4 cultivation licenses with 1 farm in Kastani region operational. This initiative revives a decade-old proposal to reduce reliance on imported office paper previously hindered by lack of government support. Now, with official backing, the entire hemp production process will be monitored by anti-narcotics authorities to ensure compliance. You know that it says you can do only 0.1 to 0.3% THC, right? Mm-hmm. You know what they're going to do, right? They're going to do what you've seen in this with hemp CBD, and they're going to turn it right into Delta 9, and they're going to sell it because it's not it's 100 milligrams. They're going to do what we've done here. Watch. I would. Israel's finance minister pushes back on tariffs on Canadian cannabis. Israel's finance minister, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, they want to put tariffs on Canadian cannabis, but this finance minister is opposed to it. Proposed anti-dumping tariffs up to 165% on Canadian medical cannabis imports. He argues that such tariffs would hinder the growth of Israel's cannabis industry, reduce market competition, and harm patients by increasing prices. Summer's rejections follows the economy ministry's allegations that Canadian firms were undercutting local producers by selling cannabis below cost. The proposed tariffs face criticism by various stakeholders, including Israel's Ministry of Health and Canadian exporters, who contended with the measure would harm patients and legal market. While the finance minister's decision to halt the tariffs for now, the issue remains continuous. New Zealand's medical cannabis producers veer away from local market for export. New Zealand's medical cannabis producers are increasingly focusing on exports due to stringent domestic regulations and limited local market. Companies like Broscience and Puro have secured international deals supplying markets in Germany, Australia, Poland, and Czech Republic, despite the 2020 medical cannabis scheme aimed at improving patient access. High costs and regulatory hurdles have hindered local supply. Recent regulatory changes in July of 2024 have eased export processes, allowing products to meet only the importing country's standards, thus enhancing global competitiveness. However, domestic challenges persist, prompting producers to prioritize international markets over local distribution. Manitoba, Canada legislation lifting ban on home-grown recreational cannabis took effect on May 1st. Manitobians will be allowed to grow cannabis plants in their homes starting in May. Legislations that will lift ban on home-grown recreational cannabis went into effect on May 1st. Anyone aged 19 or older will be allowed to cultivate. Imagine being 19 and be able to grow some weed.
Right?
I'd be
Wouldn't that
fucking
be cool?
so happy.
Through college?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'd be the man. I'd be the real weed man back in college too, just fucking selling weed to everybody. Here, my own home grow, closet grow. Allowed to cultivate 4 cannabis plants in the residence. The Federal Cannabis Act set for 4 plant maximum, but also allowed provinces to set up their own restrictions. That was international news. Cinco de Mayo just happened, right?
Yeah, it did.
This article was really good. It was called Hijack Holidays. Cinco de Mayo isn't about margaritas, or actually in this article too, it shouldn't be about cannabis either. Right?
Yep.
Tell us about it, Ms. Weedman.
Yep. This is a hard hitter. Blunt truth. Cinco de Mayo isn't about margaritas. Or Cinco de Mayo, Mayo.
It's Mayo.
Every year, like THC clockwork, weed brands and dispensaries roll out the same lazy, tone-deaf Cinco de Mayo campaigns. Sombreros slapped onto joints, infused taco packs, hydration margarita gummies, and every time it's the same story. No context, no history, just one more excuse to get faded in a costume. Let's get something straight. Cinco de Mayo is not Mexican Independence Day. It's not a celebration of tequila. It's not about party hats and salsa flights. It is the anniversary of the Battle of Puebla, a brief but significant military victory on May 5th of 1862, where outgunned Mexican forces defeated Napoleon's French army. It was about resistance, pride, identity, not branding. But in America, it became a meme. The liquor industry got there first, then the Taco Bell crowd. Now cannabis is catching up, and it looks just as clueless. Mexico's Independence Day is September 16th, not May 5th. Cinco de Mayo commemorates a single battle that symbolized Mexican resilience during a time of occupation and chaos. It was never about drunken parades. In fact, it is barely celebrated in most of Mexico. So why did it blow up here? Because in the 1980s and 90s, U.S. alcohol companies realized they could spin Mexican pride into a party. Beer brands like Corona and Modelo turned the day into a marketing jackpot. Sales boomed. Stereotypes followed. The rest is hangover history. Now the cannabis industry is playing the same game. One brand sold Piñata Punch cartridges last year with cartoon lucha libre packaging. Another offered a Cinco de Hazo special. There are El Blunto gift boxes and the Fiesta packs with sombrero-shaped lighters. And not a single one of these brands even mentions Puebla or the war or the fact that Mexico is still struggling under the weight of the U.S.-driven drug policy. The industry that claims to fight for justice, equity, and cultural legitimacy is parroting the same shallow shit as every other cash grab business on the block. Weed culture has deep roots in Latin America. From Oaxacan land races to smuggling routes of the 1970s, the plant's global journey has always been intertwined with Mexican identity. And yet, on May 5th, most weed companies pretend Mexican culture is just a flavor. This is the same industry that barely supports Latino growers, the same world where legacy operators with immigrant backgrounds are getting squeezed out while corporate weed drops spicy strains for Cinco de Mayo with zero context. If cannabis culture actually cares about roots and rebellion, then maybe Cinco de Mayo should be honored differently. Educate, celebrate Mexican cannabis pioneers, amplify Mexican-American advocates, run specials that donate to immigration defense funds or equity organizations, and stop selling caricatures and calling it culture. Ha! No one is saying you can't smoke and enjoy yourself on May 5th. But if you're lighting up for a holiday, maybe know what you're celebrating and don't turn a war for sovereignty into a weed pun. Because if weed culture wants to be taken seriously, it has to start acting like it stands for something real.
That was the first time I read from this website, Pot Culture. I want to give you a shout out. It was a brilliantly written article and well done.
Very good
100%
point.
true.
Yeah.
100% true.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched it like coming from the bar restaurant industry, Cinco de Mayo, where all of a sudden it was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Especially like being in the beer industry
Yeah.
too. It was like, what is this? Kind of holiday here, and really reading this article and learning how it happened,
Mm-hmm.
the history of how Cinco de Mayo, really like
It's
became
just history. It's a
right, became implemented in the
Yeah.
United States as like a holiday for like getting drunk and like
Mm-hmm.
watching like all the bars making like money off of this. It makes sense, and now the cannabis industry too. It makes a lot of sense. I never realized it until this article put it in perspective for me. So, yeah, that was very well done, Pot Culture. Appreciate the first article I've read from you all. So, and hopefully to read plenty more. So, Mrs. Weedman,
Mr. Weedman.
that's the end of the show.
Yeah, give me that lighter.
You need to light up. Man, our first show since we're back.
Good to be back.
Yeah, it's great to be back. And we're going to do another one this week. We're going to do 2 this week to make up for us being out of town. So we're going to hopefully record again this Saturday. And then release that on Monday for you all. And then I'll do our normal recording on Tuesday next week for the Thursday release like we always do. So we're going to be back on track. But we owe you an episode. So an episode or 2. So we're making up for it. So we're going to do back-to-back here for you all. And I'd like to thank some people reaching out to check up on to see if Mr. and Mrs. Weedman were okay, too. So no, I'm good on that one.
Good?
Yeah, we're done with the show. I'm going to bed. I want a gummy and an edible and some Skywalker OG. I have not smoked Skywalker OG on the show because it's too...
That's where...
I mean, I slept great last night. I mean, as soon as that, like, all of a sudden I was seeing cook-eyed, and I was, shoot.
Not cockeyed, you said
I said cook-eyed. Cockeyed is when you look out.
Ah.
Or like if
What is cook-eyed?
Cook-eyed is looking in, cockeyed is looking out, or cook-eyed is looking where one eye goes out, one eye goes
I think
in.
cockeyed is in.
No, well then.
Cock-a-doodle-doo?
Yeah, but I think cook-eyed is one eye goes out. One eye goes in.
They go the opposite way.
They go
That's cook-eyed.
That's what I was last night before I went to bed. I was cook-eyed because of the Skywalker OG.
I want to know what cockeyed even means.
Oh, shit. This is going to be Mrs. Weedman's final word. So you got anything else to say, Mrs. Weedman?
I got cockeyed. It means I got drunk. I didn't get cockeyed. Absurd. Impractical. Crooked or askew, not level. Cockeyed. Yeah, so your eyes would be.
Yeah. Well, that's Mrs. Weedman's final word. Everybody out there in the world, we love you. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the love. We're so happy to be back, looking all tan and refreshed and reset. Here we go. As Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.